Greetings and salutations, everybody out in YouTube land. It's your buddy Chop It On coming at you with another episode of Chop Talk brought to you by the one, the only, DFSArmy.com. Your one-stop shop for all things DFS, NFL, NHL, NBA, doesn't matter. We cover it. We've got 20 coaches, 40 staff. We've got everybody dedicated to helping you become a better player. Don't believe me? You got to try it before you. It's Paycheck Friday. You got to try it. You got to come in here and see for yourself what the buzz is about. I'm telling you, I know these guys personally. I am one of the original 6 members of this place, and we built this thing from the ground floor up, dedicated to coaching you into becoming a better player. We dig in instant message form in our coaching channels and answer your questions. We explain the tools that we've built. We explain the weights and measures we put into the optimizer for how are we going to allocate LeBron James last night or Anthony Davis the night before? Are we just locking them in, or are we only running them in, say, 15% of our lineups? We discuss these things. You go do research, we go do research, and we talk about it in a groupthink format where everybody wins. We also specialize in bankroll management, contest selection, all that sort of stuff, where we've broken down the details and the ins and outs of the DFS industry, and we're here to help you target your style, your game, into maximizing your ROI. It's the only industry, it's the only community in the industry that does that. You find us by going to the comment section of the video, clicking the link, using the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, get that 10% discount, get in here, try it for yourself. It's Paycheck Friday. What do you have to lose? You know, what you're looking at right now is my box checkers criteria. This came from Chris Raybon. An article last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, where he had done a study based on what parameters usually lead a position in NFL to hit value, right? So I wrote it down, I give credit where it's due, and I tell my VIPs this is how we walk through some NFL plays. This is what gets us pointed in the right direction. We look for quarterbacks that are home favored, implied to score over 24 points, 26 is better, and in the top 10 in total QBR. Efficiency matters at the quarterback position, not just volume. Otherwise, Drew Bledsoe would have been even better than he was if he was more efficient back in the day. Our running backs, home favored 18 touches. That's carries and targets. Red zone work, third down work. Why red zone and third down work? Shows me he gets work on the goal line. Shows me he gets work in passing downs. He doesn't get game flowed out, game scripted out as often. Wide receivers, 8+ targets. I don't care about home road favorites anymore. It doesn't matter to hitting value. What matters is target volume, target share, target air yards should be added into this. Red zone work. Sometimes if you're a road dog, that leads to garbage time. Under 18 implied team points does lead to garbage time, and the wide receiver benefits more than the quarterback. And over 27 indicates shootouts. We love high-scoring games. These are the parameters. Now, you can't check all of these boxes because you can't be under 18 and over 27 in the same week. But if you are one or the other, you check that box, and you're generally looking for guys who check 2 or 3 or 4 of these boxes. Tight ends. We will go back to home favored, implied to score over 24, 8 targets in red zone work. Why? Tight ends don't get used a whole hell of a lot in a lot of offenses, and they need bigger scoring games. In a lot of cases, they do tend to be home and favored, on home teams and favored, rather than on the road where they're a lot more volatile. Defense, only thing we care about. Home and road a little bit, but really the only thing that we care about is how big they're favored. Are they just favored, or are they favored by more than 6? What about their opponent's implied total? The opponent, not theirs, the opponent. Is it under 22? Is it under 20? Is it under 18? If you give me a more than a 6-point spread and under 18 implied team total for my opponent, I'm going to roster that defense 9 times out of 10. And it works. It provides a floor. I'll also look for sack totals, make sure the guys are getting a pass rush, but I don't need to look to adjusted line yards. I don't need to look to adjusted sack rate. I don't need to worry about all that crap. I'm a hyper simple guy, and this works. Okay? Another thing that I'll show you, since we were talking about it already, is, well, that's the definition of a hybrid lineup. Somebody wanted to know that. There's a couple of lineup examples. Honestly, those are old. Nice start to NBA. These are just little testimonials. $300. That's this year. This is just this week. NBA on fire. 343 last night. $2,000 winner. Everybody involved. You guys are amazing. Proud to say I joined the Army first time ever playing NBA DFS. First out of 220, 20 bucks from $1, not much, but it's a start, and it's all because of the Army. These are the testimonials that we see all the time. $5,000 in the NBA a couple of nights ago. Tried a lot of places, bought lineups, etc. This is the first place I felt like I'm actually being taught. I'm telling you, we dig in and we teach you. I'm just learning. Be honest, this place is best information for somebody such as myself to learn. Enter single entries, won last night, not big, but still won due to the website and the content. I mean, I don't need to bore you with this. There's that young 5K, and there's another 5K with him up there in the same contest a couple of nights ago. I know it's small potatoes, but I had to say first time I seriously enjoyed MLB last night. Always a big super NFL guy, won 45 bucks in bottom GPP lineup that was posted, and advice strictly from Slack and the Army website. Pretty cool to be 10 to 20 points away from actually taking home a few $100. Big bankroll, small bankroll, doesn't matter. 5,000 there, place is awesome. Been with you for less than a week. We teach you to hit the ground running. This was one of our coaches last night in MLB, or 2 nights ago. 600 bucks out, 45 in. Won the Grand Slam. Yeah, it's a 71 person GPP. It's not some 30,000 person GPP, but who cares? It's a higher buy-in. It's a lower point total to win the thing. But that's why you should be playing these. You need the contest selection that's going to make you a profitable player. Stop chasing those milli makers. Use those when your bankroll's really, really huge, or satellite tickets into those things. But don't go dumping a bunch of your money in there. Spend your money in the cash games, in the smaller entry GPPs with the higher dollars, and go win them. They're winnable. That's how you win in this game. Ladder system. If you don't know what that is, you need to come to the Army. You need to take a look. I have a video out that shows you how to allocate your contests. Picking the right people and player pool size is important. Double ups, quintuple ups, whatever. It's a key to my long-term success. 100% convinced of it. This is where I started. It will lead to other places. I just got tired of barely winning or break even. That's when I started researching. This place is amazing. Last night alone, $20,000 in the showdown, VIP. Enjoy the feeling is why we do it. I only won because of your site. Thanks. You are the best site. It's just not rocket science, guys. Oh, hello, dancing ladies. It's just not rocket science. You need to be part of this. Paycheck Friday. Get your butt in here. Use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Click the like, the subscribe button at the bottom of the video, and get into that comment section, because I'm telling you, we can make you a better player. Tonight we'll talk a little bit about hockey. Florida and Washington. Florida right now is scoring bottom third of the league. Washington is scoring top 5. They're 4th in goals scored per game right now. But both teams are giving up goals. Florida's giving up the 8th most in the league, and Washington's giving up the 6th most in the league. What does that mean? That means, you know what, stick around a little bit. If you just clicked off of this, come back in a little bit. We'll do some football too. But what does that mean? That means both teams are giving up goals, which means this game has a little bit of shootout potential. Being the favorite, Washington, being Ovechkin, whatnot, Washington's going to be favored. But let's look at the shots and the shots allowed. On shots on goal, Florida is 6th most in the league, Washington 17th most in the league. Shots allowed, Florida is only 22nd in the league. That means they're suppressing shots a little bit. Washington 14th in the league, meaning middle of the road. So give me a team that's scoring the 20th most goals, that's been a little bit hot lately, going up against a team that allows goals. Give me a team that's shooting a crap out of the puck, going up against a team that doesn't exactly play hardcore defense. And I have your sneaky play of the night right there. It's Florida Panthers. It's hockey. It's a volatile sport. Will it happen? Hell if I know. But what I'm telling you is based on the numbers and based on the indicator, everybody else is going to be over here. Take this side of the game. You might thank me for it. I would be targeting, honestly, the Florida's top line. I'll show you why here in a minute. Actually, I'll just show you now. Line production, last 3 games, forward combos, leftwinglock.com. Florida, Dadnoff, Barkov, Jugstead. 4 goals in the last 3 games. Hot. That's why you target them. Right there. That's your line. That's who you target. You may throw a defenseman in there with them, but you may just throw those 3 guys in there. 4 goals last 3 games. Don't know who's going to score them. Don't care. Somebody's going to get an assist. Somebody's going to get credit for the shots on goal. Might be on a power play. Those are the kinds of things that win. And nobody's going to be on them because everybody's going to be over there on the Washington side of things. And a lot of people are going to be over here on Dallas too, the minus 150 favorite. That's fine. But you can't argue Devin Dubnyk is not a bad goalie. He's taking a lot of shots but not letting a lot of goals in. So as a GPP type of play, you might come over here with your goalie. Fade off that Dallas offense and hope they don't have a good night. It's not as if Minnesota's allowing goals. Minnesota's 26th in goals scored. Dallas is 19th in goals scored. But Minnesota's 20th in goals allowed. Dallas is 19th in goals allowed. So both bottom half. A little bit tougher defensive units, but they're not scoring necessarily either. This game has a large chance of falling flat. 3-2, 3-1, something like that. It's probably not going 7-5. It's probably not going, 6-2, something like that, because neither team is showing us that they can really score. Now, again, it's hockey. Anything can happen. When I look at the shots on goal, Minnesota 22nd in the league, Dallas 5th in the league. Dallas is shooting the puck. Minnesota's 2nd in the league. They were tops in the league up until the other night, but they're 2nd in the league in shots allowed on goal. So you've got a team that shoots the crap out of the puck in Dallas going up against a team that allows shots to get through in Minnesota. You do have recipe for, a little bit of fireworks. But I just showed you how neither team is really putting the biscuit in the basket much, and they're actually a little bit defensive, so this game could go a little bit flat. For your GPP minds, you might target Minnesota. You might fade the game completely. The cash gamers are going to be going into Dallas, especially with Radulov out if Como gets called up to the top line. If that happens, they're going to take that cheap exposure to Sagan and Benn. But when I go back over here, where's Dallas? They're not in the top 10. Are they even in the top 25? No. Last 3 games, they haven't even scored 2 goals amongst themselves. So why am I excited? I'm kind of not. Anything could happen. They could explode tonight. But I'm not excited based on what I've seen and what I know. When I drop down here to the Nashville and Calgary game, this is where very few people will go. But watch this. Nashville shoots or scores the 16th most. Calgary scores the 5th most goals in the league right now. Goals against wise, Nashville, a very, very, very goal suppressing defensive team, only allows 28th most goals, which means 3rd fewest. Calgary is middle of the road at 17th. So I've got a team that's scoring a lot in Nashville or in Calgary, but they're going up against a team that tends to shut down the other team's offense. Pecorini's not a bad play tonight. Calgary also has home road splits where they are better on the road than they are when they're at home. I apologize I had to take a quick phone call there, guys, but when I come back into the video, I'm going to recap really quick the Nashville and Calgary game. Nashville scoring 16th most goals, Calgary scoring 5th most, Nashville giving up 28th most or 28th fewest, 3rd fewest. Calgary 17th, middle of the road, 17th fewest. So what we're looking at is Calgary shoots a lot, but Nashville stops those goals. We're looking at Nashville scores middle of the road, Calgary gives up middle of the road. Nothing to really see there. Defense and shot suppression or goal suppression should curb Calgary down just a little bit. However, when we look at shots on goal, 19th most for Nashville, 7th most for Calgary, 23rd fewest for, or 23rd fewest shots allowed for Nashville. So again, kind of bottom 10, meaning top 10 in defense. That should suppress those shots just a little bit out of Calgary. Nashville, not much to write home about. However, when we go into the line production here, this was a little bit interesting in that now when we look for the goals for, there's Calgary right down there, the Calgary 2. I don't know if I passed them up before or not. I know that as a target, Nashville 1 and Nashville 3. There's Nashville 3 and there's Nashville 1. So they're scoring 3 goals each in their last 3 games. It might be worth it on a production standpoint to look into these lines just a little bit because we know that Calgary's just sort of middle of the road and they play a little bit worse at home than they do on the road. Now, a little GPP trick, little idea. Florida, Nashville, nobody will be with you. One thing that I would do tonight when I look at the line production and look for targets that Calgary 1 is giving up goals. When I click by goals against, I'm going to come out to the 10-game sample size and see who's maybe truly playing bad defense as opposed to just who's running really, really cold right now. I want a little bit larger sample size here. And I find Calgary 1, Goder, Monahan, and Lindholm have given up 6 goals in 10 games. It's almost a goal a game. So I've got Nashville 1 and Nashville 3 that are running a little bit hot going up against the Calgary 1 who's not playing very good defense. That tells me right there that Nashville 1, Nashville 3 are should be targeting that Calgary line. If we can find out who's going to match up against who, then you've got yourself an actual logical point to what could work for some kind of a tournament play. So again, if I had to run one stack tonight, it'd probably be Florida's top line. Then I would probably go looking for value elsewhere. I probably wouldn't run right into the Nashville line and start stacking it, but I'd probably take a piece or two of it for cash. So when I'm looking at the Florida one, it would be these guys up here. I want to look at the defensemen and see how they play. I want to come over here and look for pieces, value pieces out of some of these offenses. Oshie's a decent play. His price hasn't come up too much. He plays up on the power play with Ovechkin. So I get line 2 access, Backstrom and Vrana. If they get hot, I've got access to them with Oshie at even strength, but I also get access to Ovechkin and Kuznetsov on the top power play line when they're on the power play. And I've covered both lines of scoring, basically. I've covered, 5 or 6 skaters with one guy. That's good coverage for cash. That gives you a little bit of a floor when you've got access to all of those guys. If I scroll down here and look on some of these lines, the second line's okay. It wasn't listed, but John Krok and Hartman and Bonino, that line has scored 3 goals in 3 games. I mean, you could almost argue stacking that. Take Subban on the power play 1. He's on the second pairing, which is going to be down in here some. You're probably going to want access up here, though. Johansson's not terrible. Arvidsson. Forsberg's one of the greater cash plays typically on a slate, on any slate, and on a 3-game slate he's even better. But I'm not going to be playing a lot of cash tonight in a 3-game slate. I'm looking more for, make sense of the floor. I'm not overexposed to a certain game because I'm going to want to stack this line, and I might want to stack some of this because it's affordable. And then I want pieces of the other chalky places as sort of something to get me some exposure. I don't mind taking a core that's a little bit chalky because when that core does well, it's going to get me to the dance, but I need the other lower owned plays to go off to win the tournament. I don't need to be contrarian everywhere. I just need to be contrarian in a couple of spots. And Nashville's going to be contrarian, and the Florida side of it's going to be contrarian. If you wanted to, you could really knock out your core by stacking up a couple of these lines over here where everybody's going to be and taking little one-offs from here and hoping those hit. That works too. But that's kind of how we do it when we talk hockey. That's where I would be targeted, and that's what I would be trying to do. If I jump in really quickly and try to find, go over to DFS Army really quick so that I can get in, hopefully show you that research station. Maybe with about 10 minutes left, we can knock down a little bit of a player list for NFL. So thanks for sticking around there. We come over to the NFL tab. We scroll down to the research station. I'm doing Fanduel because I'm most comfortable with it. I've done a little bit of DraftKings here and there, and DraftKings stuff still applies. I definitely look at the pricing gap between Fanduel and DraftKings when I'm trying to determine who's priced up, where, and why. Quarterback matchups, we want home favorites. So I'm immediately coming to the Vegas line, and I'm going home favorites. So less than 0, and I want implied to score over 24. I can do that by sorting in descending order or whatever. I can do that by just looking over here as I go. I'm looking at home, which is the yellow teams. So I see Patrick Mahomes would make my list. Matt Ryan would make my list. Does that surprise anybody? Carson Wentz might make my list. I'm looking for efficient guys. Andrew Luck has been throwing a ton of volume. Blake Bortles not so much. Joe Flacco potentially. So when I come back into my previous notes from a couple of days ago, I'm looking at Pat Mahomes as the #1 total QBR guy. Arguably the best quarterback on the slate this week, but he's $9,000 when we've got to pay up probably for running backs because quarterbacks are a little bit, they score similarly. They don't have quite the spread that running backs or tight ends or whatever. There's not quite the volatile position. There are better players in those tiers, of course, but generally speaking, your QB 10 isn't going to cost you the week as long as you've got somebody who's kind of in that upper echelon in results. And that, Mahomes, Ryan, Flacco, Wentz, they can all do it. couple of roadies can do it this week, but roadies are just a little bit riskier, which is why I tend to stay away from them. Matt Ryan, 8th most QBR. Jared Goff, 3rd most. Jared Goff's not on this. Is he? There he is. Jared Goff, 3rd most QBR. You want to run a neat little stack? Run Goff and Gurley. Now you've got access to no matter which way that game goes. If it shoots out and you've got a lot of traffic with Robert Woods, you're covered with Goff. If you've got some passes thrown to Gurley and receiving touchdowns, you're covered with Goff. Of course, you're stacked if you've got Gurley. And if the game he's been hitting his floor. Goff has been okay. He's been hitting his floor every week. It's just that Gurley's been having such monster rushing touchdown totals that it takes away a little bit from Goff. That doesn't make Goff a bad play. Flacco, 13th most, top half of the league in QBR. Not terrible. Look at his rocket arm rating. That's our proprietary DFS rating system right now. And he's up there, what, 3rd most on this particular sorting of favorites? He might be top 5, top 6 this week. And if you get it at $7,500, you've definitely got the value in there. We've got him listed as, what, the 10th most value, according to our projections. Even if he does that, he's not going to kill you, and he's going to afford you the bigger running backs. With running backs, again, we want home and favored, and hopefully we want favored by a lot. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sort by less than 0. Bring all of these running backs to the top. And then I will take these totals and I'll go descending. Because I want big spreads and big point totals. So if I look here, I've got Gurley. I've got a little bit of Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is viable. He's a little bit priced up, but he is viable. Todd Gurley, probably a much better play, obviously. Ito Smith's a little bit sneaky with Devonta Freeman being out. Because we know this is going to be a committee. This is something I didn't say in the Wishbone article. But Tevin Coleman has been a little bit disappointing outside of maybe one game where he got a lot of the run. We know Atlanta likes committees. And being that Atlanta likes committees, we know that Ito Smith's going to get some love. And if Ito's going to get love at 5,400, then we can use him. Potentially, if we can target him for 10 to 15 catches or 10 to 15 touches, a little bit of red zone work, maybe a receiving touchdown, something like that, you could run. That might even get you to Matt Ryan. You can stack Matt Ryan with Ito Smith. It isn't the best play. It isn't a cash type of play. It isn't the safest thing ever, but it really frees up Gurley and possibly someone like a Melvin Gordon, who is technically the home team, whatever. But we know he gets all the touches. He's implied to score over 25 points. He's a 6.5 point favorite. Gurley and Gordon wouldn't be a bad way to go. You know, there's one sneaky road one that I will mention that I mentioned in the Wishbone, and that was Saquon Barkley. We just attack Atlanta. Just attack them with pass catching backs, and Barkley catches passes. He should have a great week. Hey, there's no competition in the backfield for him. We hate committees. That's why the Ito Smith thing is so speculative. Even Sony Michel and James White are speculative, especially being on the road. But we've got, what, Alex Collins at home. Can you trust him? Can you trust, but I can't. Peyton Barber, I'm not chasing those points. Melvin Gordon, I already mentioned. Eckler's an outside shot at doing okay because it's not really a committee. It's more of a 2/3, 1/3 type situation. Marlon Mack, 9 times, good luck determining those. Clement Smallwood, good luck determining those. Fournette's supposed to be back. I mean, Jamal Charles is being kind of scripted into the game. Yeldon they're not happy with necessarily. Who knows what happens there? These are just situations that we are going to stick towards paying up at running back because we get the secure work. We get the floor. And with Gurley and with Gordon and with Saquon Barkley, where we have game slate breaking running backs in positions where I'm going to gobble up most of those touches, 20, 25 touches per guy, and then I'm just going to force you to come and get me with volume that you get lucky with. Because I'm going to take what I know. When I come down to the wide receiver matchups, I mean, I might play a Joe Mixon on the road. I might play certainly Saquon Barkley on the road. There are guys that I will consider. It's not a hard and fast rule. I try not to compartmentalize things too much. I'm trying to throw some loose parameters in there, and then with the freedom of being able to kind of get outside the box when it makes sense. But I'm not going to do that too much because people tend to, everybody comes to us and wants rules. What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules? And then when we give them the rules, they turn around and they say, but what about this guy? But what about that? Well, is he in the rules? Well, no. then you should think twice about playing him. I'm not saying never play the guy, but I'm saying think twice about it. Because it is not an advantageous situation, or else he would have been in the rules. When we're looking at receivers, probably not going to be able to pay up this week. So one thing we can do is cut this down and start really searching. Let's go less than 6,500 for receivers. Try and find a few of those guys that we like. We're going to go, let's see, we don't care home road stuff anymore. We want targets. So let's scroll over this way to the 2018 stats. Let's also sort that descending by targets. Bring the high target guys to the top. I want guys that are getting touches. So where do I need to stop with the targets? Down here, somewhere down in here, 5, 6, so 5. Let's go all the way. Let's just stick on the front page here. And we want guys that are implied to score either very, very low or very, very high. So 19 is close. Tennessee and Houston are in play. You have to look at the cornerback wide receiver matchups yourself. You do that by going to the NFL page all the way down here to the breakdown tab. It's a VIP only sheet though, so again, use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, at the bottom of the comment section. Funches, don't know. Shepard, not a bad spot. Not getting over the 27 points though. If I come down here, I'm really looking down here. Mohamed Sanu, Sammy Watkins, not terrible. These are guys that are getting a few targets. They're relatively cheap. You know, Sanu at 5,800 is great. Price didn't come up at all. If he plays. You know, got hurt last week. Come down here a little bit more. 30 points on Ridley. If Sanu doesn't play, Ridley might be very, very viable. 26 is close, so there's Tampa Bay again. So that tells me that Tampa Bay might be in play. Down here, Chris Conley, don't trust him. Wide receiver, when I do the box checking thing, wide receiver is always the hardest one to figure. It's always where you're going to spend the most time. And you really have to dig in. And you really have to be looking at just pure targets and things. Shepard, Snead. Willie Snead's not a bad play this week. Taylor Gabriel has a ton of upside. He's been coming up in his target share. So you might even bump him up a little bit more than what it shows over here for him. I don't trust the Jacksonville guys. Callaway's in a pretty good spot this week. Godwin, Larry Fitz, Sanu again. So you've got a few. Albert Wilson, you want to go back to that? Well, I don't mind it. I'll tell you why. Oftentimes backup quarterbacks use the wide receiver too. It's who they run with in practice. It's who they develop the chemistry with first. It's who they know where is going to be on the field when he makes his break. And with a yak guy, like the Detroit guys like Golden Tate and whatnot, or an Albert Wilson at 5,600, when I'm trying to fit Gurley, Gordon, Barkley, Mixon types in the game, in my lineups, I'm going to probably need somebody down there that's getting some targets and is having success with the targets on lower volume. Because I'm not going to get 10 targets a game with a $5,600, $5,700 receiver. If I come up here to a Willie Snead, though, at 5,400, I'm not getting red zone work to go with the targets. I'm getting 7, 8 targets a game, but I'm not getting the red zone work to go with it. So if I've got, what, 7 targets, that may be 5, 6 receptions, you know, lower ADOT, higher efficiency receptions, and probably 8 to 10 per, so 6 times 8, 48 yards. If I go 6 and 48 with no scores, even at 5,400, it kind of sucks on Fanduel. Over on DraftKings at 4,000, it's not bad. It's not the worst. But what do we got? 6 half-point PPR, so that's 3 points, and then we've got 40 yards-ish. It's another 4, so we're sitting at like 7 points. Again, it's not something that's going to completely bottom you out. Now, if he happens to fall in the end zone this week, then he goes automatically to about 13 points, doubles his value. That's usable. That's the kind of stuff we're looking for. I mean, we're not going to probably get the monster week out of Albert Wilson that we got, last week. But this upside is there. If you punt with a Snead who has a low, an okay floor, but a pretty low ceiling, and then you double punt with Wilson, you combine these two together. If Wilson goes for 20 some odd points and Snead goes for 8, well, you got 28 among two guys is 14 and 14 for what? $10,000, $11,000? Now you're cooking with gas. And then you add in the floor of the Barkleys and the Gordons and now you're really getting there. If you ran Flacco, Gordon, Gurley, Barkley, and Snead, Give Snead 8 points. Give Flacco 15. That's 23. Give 20 to the other guys at 20 at 3 positions, 20 each is 60. You're at 83 points in your floor, basically, of what those guys should realistically get you on a mediocre to poor day. And you got 5 spots left. You've got a tight end that can score. You've got a defense that can get lucky and get sacks and pick sixes. You've got, wide receivers like an Albert Wilson that can dominate the slate if it goes right for him. You've got some of this stuff that you've got access to. Taylor Gabriel's another one that we mentioned at 5,900. You can't argue his big play upside at that price. You've got the floor to get you in the hunt, and then you've got the ceiling on these receivers to push you over, but they're not crazy. They're not taking the receivers that are upside only, like your Ted Ginn, Cam Meredith types. You could go back to the well on Kiki Kuti. That would be okay too. When I look at tight end matchups, but again, wide receiver is the hardest one. When I look at Vegas lines, again, I want the favored tight ends if I can use them. If it makes sense, that's who I'm going to lean on first. So I kick that down to under 0, and I deal with only my favorites. And I start with Kelsey, great. Ertz, great. Probably not going to be able to afford him. Ebron, probably can't afford him. Hooper, not bad at 5,900. Don't know if I can afford him either. OJ Howard, 5,800. Probably can't afford him. Brait, 4,700. That's like totally touchdown dependent. Get you a 0. It's not, I guess, going to obliterate you. But if you punt 3 wide receiver spots and punt the tight end, it's a little bit rough. It's a big ask. Come down here. Not excited about a lot else. The one that I was looking at is a road guy. So if I don't see a lot on home teams, favored teams, I've got to go with a road dog. Then I've got to go with a road dog. I'd be looking at Njoku. Uzoma's not terrible. And then if I didn't really want to take that kind of a risk on the road with an underdog, I'd go back to Austin Hooper. Home and favored. Should be all right, factoring into the offense lately. And of course, defensive matchups, big favorites, of course. So when I look at Vegas, I'm looking for giant favorites. So let's see if we can find somebody that is, say, less than a 4-point favorite. I guess that was less than a 4-point underdog, so I need this to be a -4. Pardon me. I usually just leave it at 0. There's your offenses to choose from. Or your defenses to choose from. I would like to see in here what the defense, what the opposing offense is implied to score. Because to do this, I'm going to have to go into something else, which is the wishbone piece, and see who over here is implied to score under 22, 24 points. I've got Dallas implied to score low, so Washington's defense might be in play. Not a big enough spread. 19, not a big, pretty good spread though, but that puts Jacksonville in play for sure. And that makes sense. Jacksonville makes sense. They're going to be a little bit pricey, but you've got great outside receivers, and you've got Deshaun Watson, who does take sacks, holds the ball a little bit long, and is aggressive. Doesn't check the ball down a lot, is not afraid to throw into coverage. He might play a little bit safer by peppering DeAndre Hopkins with a ton of points. DeAndre Hopkins is a great GPP play, by the way. But you're really kind of looking a little bit more towards the fact that he might be turnover prone this particular week, and he might now we know that Houston with Bortles obviously in a good spot as well. Both these defenses are actually in play. But if you go by just the numbers, bigger spread, lower implied team total against, and you're looking at Jacksonville. You come up here a little bit under, okay, Indianapolis. Big spread, low total. Why isn't anybody talking about Indy? They're all, I guess they are because they're facing Buffalo, duh. But to be quite honest with you, Buffalo's defense is in play too. They've got double digits the last 3 or 4 weeks, 4 out of 5, something like that. Got a couple of turnovers a week, and they get 2 to 5 sacks a week. They've got a solid floor. Luck is going to be chucking it all day long. If Buffalo keeps this game close, we saw them demolish Minnesota. If Buffalo somehow keeps this game close and forces Luck to keep throwing, Buffalo's in position to pick the ball off a couple of times. And they're probably a lot cheaper than Indianapolis, being that Indianapolis is probably priced up facing Buffalo. I look here at 20 points. Carolina, that makes Philly's defense in play. Cam can be turnover prone. It's not a terrible spot. Under 20 points here for the Chargers in London. Mariota, Blaine Gabbert, turnover prone type guys. And we saw 20 points, Well, we don't have a huge spread, but we saw it kind of pan out a little bit last night in what Denver was able to do to Arizona. So the theory works. Again, box checkers works. Just have to be willing to do it. We're bumping up on 35 minutes here, but there's a little bit of play with football. We talked a little bit of hockey. We did it all in under 35 minutes. Save you a little bit of time. Hopefully you didn't have to go listen to hours and hours and hours of podcasts. What I want you to do is I want you to come over here to dfsarmy.com, of course, and make us your home. We've got cash game plays. We've got MME tailored notebooks. We've got showdown slate coverage. We've got podcasts. We've got tutorials. We've got slate breakdowns. We've got rearview mirror looks at GPP winning lineups, analyzing to see what they're doing that we're not to make us better players. And then it's all here, every sport, from NFL to NBA to NHL to PGA and I'll tell you, if you're still with me, every single one of these sports is included. We don't make you pay by the season. You invest monthly in your own game. Play the sports you want to play. You don't have to play them all. Listen to the coaches you want to listen to. You don't have to listen to them all. And there's no commitment. Try us for a month. You don't like us? At least you tried us. At least you know. Maybe it wasn't for you. I think it is for you. I think it will be for you. I think you'll stick around. I think if you truly plug into the Slack forums here, this is where it's at. If you plug into our coaching channels, that is absolutely where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Okay? Give us a shot. Click that link, bottom of the comments section there, dfsarmy.com. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Invest in your own game. Stop depositing as regularly as you're depositing. Let's work on making you break even and a winning player. 80% of people lose in DFS. Let's make you one of the 20%. I'm Chop It On. This has been Friday. It's been Paycheck Friday. Come back and talk to us a little bit. Hopefully I see you on the inside. We're talking inside our coaching channels later on this evening. Have a good one, guys.